There's not much new to say about the Indiana Fever's offseason at this point, but everything that comes out is only more and more positive and reinforces how good the Fever fit is, right? And now what the Fever franchise is about really too. And the latest example of that was what Natasha Howard posted, and the Fever put this out there too. This is the best I've ever been treated in my entire career. The love is unexplainable. I've always mattered. Now I'm being shown how much I've always impacted the league. I can't lie, it feels good. God is so amazing. And I've over and over again talked about how much I think that Howard signing is going to be huge, and people may not realize it. I mean, the Fever said their two priorities were bringing back Kelsey Mitchell and getting Howard, and Howard catching and finishing in transition with Caitlin Clark is going to be tough. And I think Bonner, same thing applies there too. The veteran status they bring, the versatility they bring, the toughness they bring, the size on the wing / at the forward they bring. There's just so much to like about that. And the fit and what they did and how they fit in. And you saw, remember how Kelsey Mitchell was welcomed back to the Fever? There's something about the way the organization is running itself and presenting itself right now that is very appealing to players beyond just, okay, you get to play with Caitlin Clark and you know, you're going to have all these fans. They feel like they're being valued as individuals and as players, which bodes well for the Fever's future as well. And when you talk about what they did in the offseason, Stephanie White also did so. She was on a show called Off the Charts. I'll link that in the description, of course, as always. And she said essentially that the team fit two WNBA off seasons in one.
Yeah, I'm really excited about our club. We did really well in free agency, and we addressed some issues that we needed to address. Certainly getting some veteran players who have championship experience and leadership experience that can plug some holes for us where we needed it. I think our ability to stretch the floor, our ability to shoot the three, our ability to play with pace. I mean, we got to surround our big three, with Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston. And we got to surround them with great veteran players that complement them. And I think that we've done that. And the second thing, and I thought this was going to take another year to be able to do that, we've really developed our quality depth. And oftentimes, if you're trying to address two issues in free agency or two issues in an offseason, you only get one, right? And that was free agency and depth for us. And we were fortunate to be able to do both. So I think it puts us in a position to compete. Now, it's our job as coaches to make sure that we can build that chemistry early, to figure out, which players play best with one another, figure out our rotations, what they look like. It's important in our league. We played 44 games this year. We played 40 a year ago, in a short, compact period of time that we got to make sure that we're efficient through 4 quarters and we're efficient through an entire season. So playing players, 36, 37, 38 minutes a ball game isn't to our advantage all the time. And so now being able to build out that quality depth to be able to get our players some quality rest in game is going to be critical for us. So I think it puts us in a good position. I like our group. I'm excited.
So the first part of that, is she's talking about, essentially she's alluding to Howard and Bonner, right? They got the veteran leadership, the players that fit around who they have. Maybe Cunningham applies there too. And then depth, which is Turner and Colson and those kind of moves. And, versatility, different lineups, because the Fever can give you different looks. They could go small and play Cunningham at 4. I mean, for spurts, not for a long period of time, but that's a different look. Let's say Cunningham and Hull come off the bench, 2 shooters, different look. Colson and Clark together in the backcourt, different look. Obviously, there's tons you could do with Howard and Bonner. And then that depth, okay, Aaliyah Boston can't play every game, all game. That's where Turner comes in. You need that on the roster. There's a real, replacement at that spot that can hold down the defensive end of the floor and give you easy buckets on the other side. Colson, Clark can't play. You don't want Clark to handle the ball all game, every game, and never come out of the game. I mean, that's just not a good recipe for not just one season, but her long-term durability. Those are lessons that have been learned, over the years in basketball. And then when you do put out the and you get to experiment with those different lineups over the course of the regular season, you know what your best five is, or you know what your best combinations are against certain matchups and all that. And the Fever have that ability now where they could go bigger, and I think they'll start big with that front court of Bonner, Howard, and Boston. They can go smaller and spread the floor. They can, you know, go with a bunch of Swiss Army knife players at the same time. You go Howard and Bonner and Cunningham, and roll that way for a while. There's just a lot of different things they can do, and they still have that base that White talked about. Because for all the additions, they're the leading scorers are still going to be Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. I would be stunned if that's not the case. Boston, not as much. Aaliyah, I think her best quality is actually her ability to kind of fit in and play smart and pass the ball and be a part of the team and not hunt her individual stats. Because I honestly don't think she's an overwhelming force as a scorer. But she plays good defense. She plays within the team concept, and she knows how to play. And then I think you got players aside from Kelsey Mitchell, who was always running the floor fast, but it's smaller, of course. You got bigger players who can run the floor, catch, and finish. Something that Temi Fag-Benley did at the beginning of the season, really was the only player to effectively do that. But then that tailed off as the season went along. Now you got a couple who are coming in who can do that. And then you got another shooter who can come in and catch and shoot. So there's just all that you got somebody who can come in and play perimeter defense in Colson. You got somebody who can come in and play interior defense in Turner. You're checking a lot of boxes, did the Indiana Fever. And I just thought, it's not as if Stephanie White was breaking any new ground there with those comments, but it makes sense. And then what Howard said, I feel, probably really resonates with fans. Just like when Bonner came in and talked about how she was welcomed and how much she loved the fans and how great the fan base is, because the fans took a bad rep last year, and now they're on the receiving end of a lot of love, which has to feel good. And you see the organization being touted and being celebrated and being praised, and it just goes to show you where the Fever are and how they're considered first class, because that matters to the team chemistry and team camaraderie and the morale in the building. And it also matters for future building. So all in all, great Fever fit when it comes to that entire offseason.